Hi, I'm John Feal. I'm 57 years old. On the morning of 9/11, I was about 45 minutes outside of New York City in Nanuet. I was doing a large demolition job. Had about 250 people on the job site. We were working. We started around 7 in the morning. And over the radio, we heard that a small Cessna hit the World Trade Center. Um, we continued to work. And then when the second tower was hit, we knew we were under attack. I gave everybody the option of getting a hotel, which the company would pay for, because a lot of people had to drive 2 or 3 hours home, or they could leave and go home. And everybody left. I was stuck on the job site by myself, putting stuff away, putting machines away. What usually took me about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours without traffic to get home, took me about 35 minutes. There was not a car on the road. I was probably doing about 110, but I never made it home. I went straight to the office. That night, I was in ground zero. It's the most humbling experience I've ever witnessed. I'm still, to this day, and with years of therapy, thank God, physically and mentally, I'm able to appreciate what I saw. The only thing that creeps up on me and gets the best out of me is the smell. If I close my eyes long enough, I can smell ground zero, and that's probably why I don't sleep that well at night. But I don't care who you are, trained professional, firefighter, police officer, EMT, FBI, ATF, everybody that was down there, all the unions. Nobody's programmed to wake up to that kind of devastation and destruction. Nobody. The human mind's just not built for that kind of carnage. Um, and hence why I went to therapy. I have no problem admitting that. Diagnosed by 4 doctors with post traumatic. They told me I was basically batshit crazy. Um, but I haven't taken a pill or any medication since 2005 for my post traumatic. But getting legislation passed, running a foundation, helping people who are affected by 9/11 and veterans now, that's my therapy and that's my medicine. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about post traumatic. It means you've been through something and you came out the other side and you're better for it. And you might not be the same person you were before you went in it, but you know, before I got hurt, I thought I was John Wayne and Fonzie and the world's greatest athlete. I thought I was Bo Jackson. It humbled me. It knocked me on my ass. I got up, spent 11 weeks in the hospital, countless surgeries, and what I can't do physically, I now do emotionally and mentally. It's that simple. You learn to adjust. And if you don't, you know, we're now 23 years removed from 9/11. If you still think and act the same way you did 23 years ago, you've wasted 23 years of your life. It's that simple. We have to evolve. And if we're not learning every day and we're not evolving, we're not living. And well, the 9/11 community at large, which is made up of a lot of fractions, we're evolving for the worse because it's a numbers game. It's just a numbers game because now all of these men and women, uniform and non uniform, are sick and dying. So many have died. So many have a certified cancer. So many have more than one cancer. We're evolving for the worst. And those who benefit from the legislation that we got passed, if you go throughout history, there aren't many organizations or advocates that took matters into their own hands and forced legislation. And because of the legislation we got passed, doctors, lawyers, nurses, healthcare providers made a lot of money off of our work. And it gives me the chance to voice and be that voice for those who can, that they need to do a better job and involve with us. And that's what we do 24/7.
How did you get all of those bills passed? Like, what did it take?
You know, I don't know. I think I tripped, fell down, and a bill got passed. You're gonna get a lot of self-deprecating out of me, but I'm not the smartest man in the room, not the tallest man in the room, not the best-looking man in the room, but I have a a will that's stronger than anybody's beliefs. And I am a stubborn Scorpio. And I'll never take no for an answer when human life is at stake. It was pretty easy to beat Congress at their own game. The only thing that was hard about it was the wear and tear of the travel, the wear and tear of the walking in the hallways, and the longevity because of the games that they could play on their home turf. But not once, not twice, not three times, not four times, but five times I've been to DC and beat them on their home turf. And that's a good feeling. And now, whether it's New York State or New Jersey or DC or Michigan, wherever, we've helped pass 19 pieces of legislation. None of us went to school for it, and it was all hands on training. And you find out a lot about yourself, but you also find out a lot about your opponents who oppose you, and you find their weaknesses, and you put your foot on their neck, and you don't give up. And there are probably people around the country, not probably, there are, that believe in a great cause, and it's noble, and they're probably fed up, or they don't think that their member of Congress or their state representative is going to listen to them, or they don't have the resources, or they don't know a celebrity like Jon Stewart. I didn't reach out to Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart reached out to me. And listen, if John Feal can spearhead all of these trips to DC and everything else, then somebody smarter than me can do it and probably do it better. That's just fact. In 2010, Beth Shore, Jon Stewart's assistant, called me, and I was already in a fight up mood. I was going to DC in 2 days. I was on the phone call back and forth with members of Congress's staff to get meetings. We had a few days left before they were leaving for the winter recess, and we would have had to start all over because it would have been a new Congress, and we were getting the shit beat out of us. And then Beth got on the phone. She's like, "John Field, Mr. Stewart wants to talk to you." And I said, "Oh my God, really?" John got on the phone, and he was eating something, and he's like, "John Field, check this out. You're gonna come on my show tonight, tomorrow, and we're gonna make fun of Republicans. We're gonna help you get the bill passed. I've been following you for years. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner." I said, "Wow, that's a lot to digest, but I can't." And he goes, "What do you mean you can't?" I said, "Well, I never wrote a book, and everybody you have on the show usually writes a book. So if I ever write a book, I'll come on." He goes, "No, no, 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 no." I said, "Look, Mr. Stewart, I got to finish what I started. I got to go to DC." And he goes, "Oh, wow, a man of integrity. I like that." He goes, "I'll tell you what." And he didn't miss a beat. He just goes, "Give me four guys. I'm assuming you're worth four guys." I said, "Well, I like to think I'm worth more, but." He said, "Give me four guys. I'll put them on the show. We'll dedicate the whole show to them, the whole half hour. You go and do what you got to do. We'll touch base, and we'll help you get this bill passed." And I put four guys on the show. I vetted them, and John was true to his word, and he dedicated the whole show to them, and it was powerful. And we went and did what we did. You know, I took 12 guys with me to DC um, day one. And then the following day, we had three buses coming down. And those 12 guys, not only were they the best of my best in meetings, but they were also willing to get arrested with me. So I was quoted in the Daily News as saying Senator Schumer needs to slap a baby bib on Republican leadership and force feed them the bill. And I said, I'll park a bus in front of the airport. I won't let them go home. And I believe in civil disobedience when it's needed. Senator Schumer didn't take kind to that. So this is a true story now. Um, when me and my 12 guys got on the Hill, I sent them over to Schumer's office because he wanted to talk to me. And I had to stop in Carolyn Maloney's office on the other side of the Capitol Hill. I walked into Carolyn Maloney's office and Capitol Police were waiting for me. Um, they put me against the wall. They frisked me. They said, "What is your business here today?" I said, "I'm just trying to get a bill passed." Carolyn Maloney came out of her office and said, "Oh my God, John Field, you're the only one here. Everybody left. They got the bill dead on arrival. You're going to save the day." I said, "Carolyn, you're going to have to save me first before I save anybody." And the Capitol Police, like, "Oh, you know him, blah, blah, blah." Next thing you know, taking selfies with Capitol Police, exchanging challenge coins and patches. And then they Capitol Police escort me over to Schumer's office, so I wouldn't have to walk outside. And they escort me underneath on the tram, and I'm walking down the hallway, and I'm glad somebody took a picture of this. And I'm walking down the hallway with Capitol Police towards Schumer's office, and I hear my guys saying amen, praying, and they're all holding hands in a circle. Here's the thing: my guys don't hold hands with anybody. These are all hardcore Viking Neanderthal, and I love them dearly, but they're just a little rough around the edges. And as I get closer, I hear this voice, and I'm like, "What the?" And it was the Reverend Jesse Jackson doing a prayer circle with my guys. And I walk by, and my one of my lieutenants, Kenny, goes, "I don't know what to, you know." And Jesse Jackson, I'm praying for the FealGood Foundation. I'm praying for the 9/11 community, and I just walked right by into Schumer's office, and it was heated. Well, it was like, you can't fucking say that. You can't fucking do this. And I was like, fuck you. I'm the only one here. You got a day left before you guys leave. You need me, and I'll do what the fuck I want. As I walked out of the meeting, Jesse Jackson looked at me and went, and I said, Rev, I'm really sorry you had to hear that. But if you could throw like one of those prayers on me, I'll greatly appreciate it and take it with me through the day. What happened was Senator Collins called the Capitol Police on us. The Daily News confronted her, and she denied it. And then 20 minutes later, they said, yes, we did it. We're caught, blah, blah, blah. But we were only using protocol. I found it as a badge of honor, but my guys were a little pissed. The first meeting of the day, because we were at 58 yes votes. We needed two more by the end of the day to get this on the floor. The first meeting of the day was Susan Collins, Chief of Staff. The meeting lasted 45 seconds, but it felt like a half an hour because my guys were hard to control. And sat down, and he's like, John, if the bill went on the floor today, the bill would pass. Wink, wink. That was their way of saying sorry for calling, whatever. I said, thank you very much. Have a great day. But my guys were like, what does that mean? Fuck, blah, blah. I go, guys, let's go. So I had to rally them. So I called Senator Gillibrand's office, and I said, hey, Senator, we just got Collins. They're like, no way. I said, call over there. We just got Collins. 10 minutes later, they call me back, and they're like, oh, my God, you're at 59. You need one more. And I was like, yeah, I know how this works. I need 60. So we went to a few more offices, and then around 1 o'clock, we went to Senator Murkowski's office. And we were just trying to find reasonable, common ground, normal Republicans. And Senator Murkowski's chief of staff, Nathan, was from New York. And just tugged at his heartstrings and his New York strings. And Nathan promised that Murkowski would get on board. And that was good enough for me. I called Gillibrand's office, and I said, we got 60. We got Murkowski. They're like, no way. I go, come on. Really? 10 minutes later, they call back. They're like, holy wow. Then Schumer's office calls me, and they're like, all right, we're going to negotiate. Then blah, blah, blah. Gillibrand calls me back. He's like, John, do you want to be part of the negotiations? I was like, is Schumer cool with that? I was like, can I bring my guys? And they're like, no. So I got to sit in the negotiations in one room while Senator Enzi and Coburn were in another room. They're going back and forth. Negotiations probably started around 3 that afternoon. I told my guys to go back to the hotel. They did a great job. Wait for the buses to come down in the morning and meet me on the Hill. They went back and forth with the amount of years and how much money. And then halfway through the negotiations, Schumer was like, well, we're not getting 7 years, but we can get 6. And everybody's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And I said, no, what the fuck? 5. They're like, you're cutting yourself a year short. I said, no, I'm landing on a presidential election. And everybody went, oh, yeah, you're right. Let's do 5. I had no control over the money. We got 4.7. On a scale from 1 to 10, I gave the bill a 6. But you know what? We were going back to New York with something. We weren't going empty handed. And we knew that we had to go back in 5 years anyway.
Was this the first bill?
Yeah, 2010. Look at it this way. We were that little engine that could. I think we got lucky. I think sheer will with no, we were already walking the halls of Congress for 5 or 6 years, but it was a true 15-round fight, because 5 years later, we weren't that little engine that could anymore. We had the statistics, we had the facts, we had science behind us 5 years later. And when we had to get it renewed, we had zero tolerance for the games that day we played, and we just punched them in the mouth, figuratively. And it wasn't a 15-round fight; it was a 5-round knockout. And we knew we had to go back 5 years later, which was really 3.5, 4 years later, to get the VCF extended. Now they're both extended till 2090. But John got more involved in 2015. John actually put boots on the ground. It was the first time that John went to DC with us. John wanted to see what we were doing, and he just left the Daily Show, and now he's back on Monday nights. And he owes me $1 because in 2016 I bet him that he would be back on the Daily Show. Um, so all my guys had nicknames. One guy's name was Pistol Whip, the other guy's name was Tackleberry, the other guy's name was Shrek. Part of me calling them by their nicknames was I didn't want to get close to a lot of guys, and some of them I did, and they're dead, and it's devastating to me. I've been to like 208 funerals, and about 8 of them were really close friends, and a couple I would call best friends. And they either got nicknames because I couldn't remember the names, and at any given time I had anywhere from 20 to 50 people. So John saw me calling everybody nicknames, and John turns to me, goes, in between meetings, and our meetings were 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes long, and then get to the next one, and then get to the next one. And if we were running long, we would take half the group and send them to the next one. We'd keep leapfrogging. We did anywhere from, on the low, 15 meetings a day to a high of 53, which is a record for us. So John's like, give me a nickname. I was like, dude, you're John Stewart. I'm not giving you a nickname. And by that time, we had a good rapport where, I could tell him to shut the fuck up. But he's like, no, I want a nickname. And so I'm looking at him and I'm like, I don't know, your nickname's Colbert. And he kicked me. He literally kicked me in the shin, and he was wearing steel tip boots. So the whole day, all my guys were calling him Colbert. But at the end of the day, he earned our respect. But he also saw the physical and mental pain that these guys went through. Because on average, when we went to DC, we walked 9 to 12 miles in the hallways on those marble floors. There's no forgiveness in those hallways. But they all had to drive 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours wherever they were from. They all stayed in a piece of shit hotel. And it was broken down into teams. I had an A team, a B team, and a C team. My C team was the fluff. They went to members that we knew, House members or Senate members that we knew they were going to get on board. And they went in there, my guys, they took pictures with the member or went in there and said, well, can you tell your colleagues to get on board? And that was their job. But it worked. It was effective. And then my B team were meeting with people on the fence. Meaning if they met with that person the first time, there's probably going to be follow-up meetings, 2, 3, 4 meetings still for them to get them off the fence. But then my A team, and they were the best of the best. They could lead a meeting. They were just so knowledgeable. But at the end of the day, when everybody was coming back to the parking lot so we can, regroup or meet in Gillibrand's office or Maloney's office, the C team, the fluff team, they would all come in like, hey guys, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. The B team was like, oof, what a day. But my A team, they looked like they fought 3,000 people. And it was just about 6 or 7 of them. And they looked like death. And they got the shit beat out of them because when we did get a yes vote or a co-sponsor, it was a miracle. They were having meetings with people who were adamantly against us. And John was part of that A team. And John witnessed firsthand the denial, the neglect, the lies, the shit that came out of their mouths of why they don't support us. And he's like, wow, wow. And then in 2019, he witnessed it again. And Gillibrand introduced the bill in February of 2019. In October of 2018, we were already in DC. We had, from October to February, we had about 89 trips to DC under the radar, getting support for Gillibrand. So when she did introduce the bill, she had like 45 co-sponsors. But here's the thing: people's BCF awards, instead of getting 100,000, they were only getting 20,000. These people were dying. These people had bills to pay. They need to keep a roof over their head, put food on the table for their families. Everybody in DC who said they were our ally wanted us to wait to the end of 2019 to get the best deal possible. I said that's unacceptable. They're cutting awards right now 77%. And I went to John. And I said, John, I have a game plan. And I went to Gillibrand. I said, I have a game plan. And they both said, okay, do it. I didn't tell anybody else because everybody else would have said no, and then my plan would have went to shit. But the plan was to have John testify in front of Congress, handpick several people to testify alongside him. While he was in the process of doing that, get a meeting with Mitch McConnell, put him on the spot, demand a meeting. I already met with McConnell twice before John testified in June. And John testified in front of Congress in June of 2019. And it's one of the most memorable things in my life because John had a prepared speech. And for about 2 weeks, John was calling me, texting me, emailing me, saying, dude, check this out. I want to read this to you. And I go, dude, it's good. I mean, you're Jon Stewart. You're the best sit-down comedian who can articulate anything ever in the history of ever, and you're going to read from a prepared speech. The 6 people that go before you are all going to read from a prepared speech. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to fuck this up. I don't want to screw the guys over. I don't want them to lose faith in me. I said, John, just you being there is going to lift their spirits. You're not going to let them down. So all week I was just saying, whatever, John, do whatever you got to do. But if I was you, I wouldn't read the speech. I would just wing it. You winged everything else on the Daily Show like a fucking rookie. So why are you going to change your MO now? Everybody wants Jon Stewart. So the morning of the hearing, the night before, they had the Ray Pfeiffer and John did Ray's eulogy, and Ray was my best friend. They had a golf outing for Ray, and I outbid everybody for Ray's bunker gear, his coat. So I had to pay $1,000 after paying $7,000 for the coat. I paid $1,000 to get the coat to DC before John got there, and had all my guys sign the coat saying "Thank you, John. I love you, John." Whatever message they wanted to give to John. And when John and I were outside, all my guys were waiting for us, and John and I were just talking, and I gave John a letter on my letterhead, which I probably used about 8 times for college students for community service. And the letter said, "Dear John, this is my first Dear John letter. I said I miss and I love my mother dearly. I miss and I love Ray dearly. Don't ever make me miss you because I love you."
Mm.
And he starts bawling. He's like, "Bah!" And then I started crying. We're hugging. And then we go inside, and Kenny, my lieutenant, is waiting with the signed code. And Kenny gave a really powerful speech, the importance of that code. And I was softening John up. I wanted him to put the speech away. So we go into the committee room, and we're sequestered off in a little room while everybody's out filling the room. So then when we came out, I had a chance, John, put that away. You don't need it. He's like, yeah, I'm thinking about it now. At least I had him thinking about it. So while we were in the hearing, Carolyn Maloney and Peter King gave their opening remarks, and everybody was testified was sitting with the crowd. And I'm going to John because John doesn't know the nuances of a committee or DC I'm like, John, look, there's nobody here. A member of Congress can walk in and say present, and then they would get credit for being there during the whole committee, which could take an hour or 10 hours, but they're marked down. It's like, high school shit. And John was getting furious. I go, John, look at all these guys behind you. They're all sick and dying, and these members of Congress come in. There's like 4 members of Congress. But John didn't also know it was a subcommittee. It was a subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee. So you're never going to have that many members anyway. So now people start testifying. Me and John are communicating. And if you watch the video of that hearing, you'll see me and John communicate a lot through text, through leaning over to each other, just whispering side to side, depending where he was at the time. And I just kept turning the knife on, just turning the screws and just getting him riled up. And doctors started speaking, lawyers started speaking, a widow started speaking. Then Michael Connell, who you'll have on your show, who's a lovable, squeezable little teddy bear, who got sick, who's got 3 young kids. He's an amazing man. He testified, but they all read from his speech. And a lot of them, we helped write their speeches because we knew what their responsibility would be. And then Lou Alvarez spoke. And just to get Lou to DC was it was to get Lou to DC, to get Lou to that hearing, knowing that he would die within a couple of weeks was it was painful. And I'm gonna cry. But I am not a selfish man, but I was selfish for what I did. But Lou wanted this, but I apologize to his family every time because he didn't have to do that. And Lou gave a speech, and we helped write it. And as soon as Lou was done, I had to make a detraction. You're not allowed to clap, cheer, whatever in a hearing room. So as soon as Lou was done, I stood up and I clapped, and everybody got up and clapped. And then I leaned over to John and I said, "Follow that bitch." That's all I said to John. Follow that bitch. And everybody sat down quiet. And then John went, and the Daily Show with the tapping of the pen and shit. John tapped the speech, and he took parts of the speech in his 8-minute rhetoric, but he didn't read that word for word because I knew the speech, and he just winged it. And it was raw, it was emotional, and it was like watching a gymnast score a perfect 10 on the balance beam. I don't know how else to put it. He articulated our pain, our suffering, and our anger over the last 2 decades. And it gave me that opening that I needed because then I had a meeting with Mitch McConnell. And I took back in 2015, I had a meeting with Mitch McConnell. And I went with 3 of my guys. And they escorted us with 4 guards with AR 15s. Like I was a fucking terrorist. And he comes in the room, and there's already tension between us and his staff. And these people are really smart. When you work for, that high up on the food chain, we're dealing with people that was way smarter than us, but we had the statistics and the facts and the science. McConnell walks in, he goes, I bet you feel like big boys now that you beat me up in the media, but I can handle it. I said, sir, you're a piece of shit. Sit the fuck down. And my guys were like, John, you can't do that. Get out. Get out right now. I kicked my guy out of the meeting. And then he sat down. Girl walked in with an empty piece of paper, handed it to him. He's like, oh, I got to go. I said, you're a lying fuck. You're a piece of shit. You're a coward. So he left, and that meeting with his staff lasted about 5 minutes because I was fed up. But we beat him up, and this is in November, and we got the bill passed in 2015. So, but then back to 2019, I already had 2 meetings with the staff. They were productive meetings. And then I had a meeting with Mitch McConnell. I took 6 of my guys to that meeting. The same girl walked in with a piece of paper, and he goes like this, and he stayed,
Wow.
and he stayed. Wow. And then I let a couple of my guys speak first, and they spoke, and they did a great job. But I knew going into this meeting that he was either going to speak first, we were going to get pissed, or we were going to speak first. And as soon as my one guy was done, he wanted to speak. I said, "Sir, no, it's my turn. I'm going to speak." And I spoke for about 15 minutes. But before I did, I gave him Lou Alvarez's shield, and I shook his hand with the shield between our hands. I said, "Sir, this is from Lou Alvarez. If it was me, I would not give it to you. You don't deserve it. This is not a gift. This is a reminder who you are and your responsibilities, not just to the people of Kentucky, but to the United States." And he started tearing up, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" I'm shaking Darth Vader's hand, and he's got emotions. And he let me talk while holding his hand. And I'm not gonna brag, but I could palm a basketball with this hand. And I was squeezing Mitch McConnell's hand hard enough to know that it left an imprint of Lou Alvarez's shield in his hand. And I spoke, and I said, "There's about 40 cameras outside of this office right now. I can go out there and say, you're behind this because everybody else didn't want us to get this done. Everybody else lied to us. And you could just say, Mitch McConnell says, we're going to get this done before we go on our summer recess. Or I can go out there and say, you're the world's biggest piece of shit like I've done 100 times before." He goes, "No, I'm 100% on board. You got my word for it. We're going to go and we're going to do it now. Yes, let's do it." And we went outside. We did an impromptu press conference, and he kept his word. Mitch McConnell kept his word. Sorry, America, don't hate me. We did this impromptu press conference, and I said, the chair that Mitch McConnell and other members of Congress sit in, the desks they sit behind, the pens they use, the computers they use, we own that shit. We own them. They work for us. We don't work for them. I'm not going to beg anybody ever again for them to do their job. I'm going to force them to do their job. And if nobody likes that, then go themselves. And then Fox News apologized for my saucy language.
What an accomplishment.
But it was when the bill passed the House. Every time the bill went on the floor in 2010, 2015, 2019, there was no emotion out of me. We had more work to do. People would jump up and hug and cry, and I get it. They needed to exhale. They needed to go. When the bill passed in 2019 out of the House, which was like 412 to 10, um, everybody was jumping up and down, hugging and squeaking, even John. And I was just like, all right, whatever, it's cool. And it wasn't until when the bill passed the Senate, which was 97 to 2, 97 to 2, and John was up in the gallery with my guys, and I was in, when they walk right out past the bench. Senator Schumer's office is right behind the doors there, and I was in the doorway like this every time a senator went in and out to vote, and I just give him the dead eye, just stare at him, give him the old New Yorker. And when the bill passed, I walked around. John walked around with the guys, and we just hugged and I cried. And it's like, wow, 18 years of my life just came out of me. Yeah, and then we went to the White House and they signed the bill, which was oddly weird and disgusting, but
Well, so till 2090, everyone is supported, or is there other work to do?
yeah, no, there's still more work to do. Any government-run program, people are going to fall through the cracks, right? So we're still advocating for them. I mean, somebody doesn't meet the time required. Somebody wasn't, there's a geographic map that people need to fall. You had to be south of Canal Street to the bridge to the water. Like the toxins just stopped short. It was like, we can't go any further. We can't make anybody else sick. These are arbitrary guidelines that the federal government set up. But again, the bill's not perfect,
Right.
but we advocate to ensure that it's helping as many people as possible. And there's no bill ever in the history of Congress that encompasses 100% of the things it's supposed to do.
Right.
But my goal was always help as many people as possible. As possible. So if we're helping 90%, we're doing pretty good. And the other 10 we're going to fight for to ensure that they get what the other 90% get. Technically the bill's only 14 years old, 13 years old, really. It's a teenager. It's still in its infant stages. It's maturing, and we're the godparents of that bill, and we have to ensure that it continues to mature and grow. And that's what we do all the time. You know, Working closely with the World Trade Center Help Program and NIOSH, who administrates the World Trade Center Help Program, working closely with the law firms and the DOJ, who administrates the Victims Compensation Fund. Is in 2010, all of that, none of these people communicated with each other. We forced everybody to communicate with each other. That's part of the evolving stage. Um, Getting 19 pieces of legislation passed and donating $10 million, or donating a kidney, or building a park, nothing, nothing compares to the friendships that I made that are for life. Nothing compares with the friendship that I made with John, or Ray Pfeiffer, or Lou Alvarez, or Michael Connell. I won't trade those in for anything. Everything else is just for the resume.
You mentioned Ray. I know a little bit of the story, but for those listening, would you mind sharing a bit more about who Ray was and how he was involved and all of that?
Yeah, there's a Mount Rushmore. Ray Pfeiffer belongs on it. Mount Rushmore for the 9/11 community. Ray was the most selfless, giving, caring person I've ever met. Has no judgment on anybody, and it was so easy to gravitate to him. And for anybody who didn't know Ray, be jealous, because I was fortunate enough to know him, and met him in 2010. Did a fundraiser for him. Um, they used my foundation because they didn't have a 501c3. Um, and from there, Ray and I just hit it off. And, we just sat there, and there were times over those 7 years that Ray, before he passed, we would sit there for hours, have two fingers scotch because he liked his Johnny Walker, and I fucking hate Johnny Walker. But I did it anyway because that's what Ray liked. And we would just talk about life. And he was the most elegant, graceful 9/11 responder or person I ever really met. And if I ever grow up, uh, I pray that I'm half the man that he was. And for him to call me his friend, I'm all right. My life's complete. My life didn't exist other than this. This is all I did. This is all I knew. And this is all I was good at. It took from the time we did 2019, the last 9/11 bill, to the Veterans Bill, the PACT Act, that I knew there was a life outside of 9/11 for me. But as soon as they asked me to get involved and me asked John to get involved, I went back at my pace, my speed, and said, "This is how we're going to do it, or we're not doing it." And John and I fought a lot. John and I fought more on the PACT Act than we did with the 9/11 stuff because John took all the knowledge that he got from us, tried to incorporate it, but John didn't really live it. He just heard it from us. And it wasn't till towards the end where John said, "Let Feal do it his way." Right? And, I'm never going to tell John how to write a joke or direct a movie. And John will never tell me how to get a piece of legislation passed. You know, um, it's not that hard to be an egotistical person who's so attention starved and power seeking, career longevity, who has no legislative skills. It's not that hard to beat them. It's really not that hard. And again, I'm hovering around room temperature on the IQ scale.
Oh, stop.
Fact, it's true. And I'm all right with that.
So you touched on the Veterans Bill. Can you describe what that is and kind of is that what you're focused on now moving forward?
Yeah, the PACT Act was for those affected by the burn pits. The burn pits were those who affected were had the same cancers as 9/11 responders and survivors and volunteers. And when Rosie and Leroy Torres reached out to me, um, how was I going to say no? You know, and I saw a lot of me in Rosie because they were a mom and pop shop trying to move mountains, and I needed to share that with them so they too can do it. And the first meeting John and I had with them, we had every VSO in Gillibrand's office, and you're either on board or you're not. And they were competing against themselves for years instead of joining forces because they got money from Congress or they got money from big corporations. I said, "You're not going to make everybody happy. You're going to piss a lot of people off. I'm going to piss a lot of people off." I did, and I'm proud of it. If I'm pissing you off, I'm doing my job. If you can disrupt somebody from doing their job and they get mad at you, you've already won. For about 2.5 years, John and I helped them get a bill across the finish line. And while it's the largest bill that I've ever helped get passed in the terms of a price tag, it wasn't as hard. But while nothing Congress and the Senate did that made me go, "Wow," you still scratched your head because these are no-brainers. These are neither Republican or Democratic bills that we helped get passed. These were just human life bills, human issues that face Americans, cops, firefighters, veterans, that Republicans hang their hats on for years. Here's the thing: Washington D.C., Congress, the Senate, they love the soldier. They hate the veteran. They love the firefighter and the police officer. but once they get shot or burnt in a fire and they can no longer do their job, they're they're an expense to the municipality. You know, the PSOB, which is another benefit that the DOJ operates, took the World Trade Center Help Program and used it as their criteria for those who were affected by 9/11, and we forced that. We were in a meeting with them. You know, when the bill got passed in 2010, um, that was in December. The bill got signed by President Obama January 2nd of 2011. And at the end of February, the DOJ calls me and like, Mr. Feal, will you come to DC? I was like, what? I'm sorry, who? And like, will you come to DC? And I was like, am I in trouble? And they're like, no. I said, well, can I bring a lawyer? They're like, no, just come down to DC. I said, no, you fucking with me. Then I'm saying was like, they really wanted me to just come to my house. So I went to DC, and for 2.5 days, the DOJ picked my brain to gauge the 9/11 community's temperature. They wanted to know how I come up with my analytics, my statistics, my facts, and they were like, "Why are you always so accurate?" And a month later, I went back down to DC, and all of the victims' compensation law firms came down. And when I first started giving clients to them, I was spreading it out to about 9 or 10 law firms. Now I only give it to one. Those other ones don't meet my threshold of helping people.
Which one do you give it to?
Barish McGarry. And while they're the largest, they're the best. They get the least amount of complaints. And listen, everybody's going to complain. I complain. We're human beings. Human beings complain. But lawyers were looking at the almighty dollar, saying, "Oh, 10%, 10%, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching." There's a lot of work involved in that 10%. A lot of paperwork involved. There's a lot of waiting, and a lot of men and women died waiting for their victims' compensation awards, and the law firms just didn't have the best interests at heart. And while I'm friends with some that work for other firms, um, I'm not loyal to Barish McGarry. I mean, I'm loyal to him because I'm their friend. But I'm loyal to the 9/11 community before anybody. I'm married to the 9/11 community. If I wanted a divorce, I couldn't get out of it. But that's where my heart lays. That's where my will lays. Where my bond lays. It's where my word is. And I want to be able to die and go on my wall in the park that I built and say I was with the best of the best that this country offered 23 years ago. And if I screw that up, I'm not going on that wall. And I fucking built it.
You're saying a lot of statistics. What would you say would be like the most staggering statistics to you that you've found over the years?
Well, I mean, look, nobody gets out of life alive. We're all going to die. We're supposed to get cancer or heart disease or hit by a bus. Um, I'm staggered by the amount of people that have a certified cancer now, which is over 30,000 people. I'm staggered by the amount of people that we've lost, and it's going to get worse. I mean, we have lulls. For years I used to say every 2.7 days somebody dies. Now it's every day. It's almost like 0.09, 0.9 that we lose somebody. Um, one, two, three, four. We lost 4 people in the last 3 days. Um, I take these personally. Um, the amount of people. Yeah, I'll give you a statement. I'm going to be positive. You have lung cancer and I have lung cancer. I hope neither one of us ever get lung cancer. Your lung cancer sucks. I don't know how you got it. Hereditary, you smoke cigarettes, whatever the case may be. I got lung cancer from 9/11. My cancer's on steroids. It's more aggressive. It's going to kill me fast. In the 9/11 community, though, I have a better chance of beating lung cancer than you do. I have a better chance of living than you do because our doctors now are only trained in environmental disease. They know what they're looking for. They know how to attack this aggressively, and they know what it takes to save my life. Where you may get a doctor who just specializes in cancer in general, not particularly lung cancer, and or a doctor that has been in your family for 30 years and misdiagnosed you. So I have a higher success rate in the 9/11 community in living with different types of cancers than in the general population, and that's staggering. And people need to know this because a lot of people still need to get enrolled in these programs and ensure that they get free healthcare and compensate for their illnesses.
I was just talking to someone yesterday who was there on the day, and I was like, "Have you signed up for this?" And he said, "No." I said, "You should do that. Like, you should do
Even if
that."
they're not sick, they should
Yeah.
sign up.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: those people need to get affidavits,
Mhm.
right? And the further we get away from 9/11, the harder it is to get an affiant. The people I worked for, they moved. I don't know where they went, or they died. They were in a car accident, and I have nobody else to get. So it makes our work harder to get them enrolled in the programs. Even if you're not sick, sign up, get your affidavits. We'll warehouse them for you because you have a 60% higher chance of getting sick now. And here's the thing: our bill is presumptive. Even if I did smoke 4 packs of cigarettes a day, if I was at ground zero, the Pentagon or Shanksville, and I get cancer, I'm still getting in the program.
Hmm. You kind of talked about it, but didn't go into it. Why did you end up getting into this work?
Well, it's two reasons. One, nobody was doing it, and it had to be done. And two, it was personal to me. I was, you know, before everybody got sick and denied benefits, I got hurt and denied benefits. Um, I didn't qualify for the first VCF because they said I got hurt at the 96 hours.
Hmm.
Um, when I worked for a company that subbed me out to another company that subbed me out to another company when I was at Ground Zero for 5 days, they all sued each other not to pay my medical bills. They paid more for their legal fees than my medical bills, which to this day, and now when they say me and they say, "Hey, John, thanks for the work you do," I just nod. 20 years ago, I might have said, "Go fuck yourself," but it's not worth it. But the denial, the neglect, um, just that chip on my shoulder got bigger and bigger, and it was personal. And you see all of these people dying, and nobody was doing anything. And I was going to therapy individually. I was doing EMDR, and I was getting my life together. But I was also going to therapy physically to learn how to walk again, and that saved my life by itself. But then going to support groups where you would be in a group of 8 or 12 with other 9/11 responders, and I hate the cliche because it is, there's always somebody worse off than you. And I'm like, well, how bad do I really have it? Wow, wow. And it put it in perspective. And I'll share a story with you. And if I cry, I apologize. I'm gonna cry already. Um, in 2004, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. My mother was my mother, my father, my best friend, my rock, my everything. I could tell her everything about anything, and there was no judgment passed. So I was coming home from therapy, and I stopped at McDonald's, and I got a number two. I don't eat McDonald's anymore. But religiously, I always had a number two, and with a Diet Coke, which to this day I don't know why I had to have a Diet Coke. I didn't get, I just like the taste. But it was like right after lunch. It was like 1:30, and it was dead. And I'm sitting in there, and I'm pondering life. What am I? Blah blah blah. Should I do this? People are tugging me to do that. I'm just done eating. I'm done. I'm just sitting there, and in walks this father with 2 daughters, and one daughter is normal, and the other one was severely handicapped. No verbal sound, just grunts. Um, Father was holding her helmet. That's how bad it was, and I'm watching them online. They're ordering blah blah blah, and then they turn. You get the food, and I'm like, please don't sit next to me. Please, the place is fucking empty. You can sit fucking any way you want. Just don't sit next to me. And I know that sounds dick, but they sat one table over from me. I said, are you fucking kidding me? So I'm sitting there, and you can't help but listen to them because the place is echoing from them. And the father didn't show any special treatment to the handicapped girl. He treated both of them equally. Now the father opened their meals, helped them, but didn't they each got 50-50, and the The girls are communicating, and the daughter's talking to the one that could verbalize is talking to her sister, and the other sister just grunting and laughing and smiling. Her smile was from fucking ear to ear, and they're playing with their Happy Meal. And I think they had like little princess dolls or something. And they're all just playing along. Father's eating the meal, and I'm saying to myself, John, you're a bitch. My mother was diagnosed with cancer, never complained. This girl was born without a choice. She was born without a choice, and she's loving life. She doesn't know any better. If you ever complain again, I will punch you in the face. And I'm saying this to myself. And maybe it was an epiphany. I don't know. And I wish I would have got up and said, thank you for opening my eyes because I'm an idiot. But it really, my mother died 2 years later, and it was the hardest thing I ever went through. Um, but not once did she ever complain. Not once did that girl in McDonald's ever complain. And I know it's human nature, human beings, we complain. Oh, it's too hot out, it's too cold out. You're never going to get that out of me. Ever. We have good days and bad days, but we had days. And there's so many people that can't say they had a day anymore. It's just that when you put things in perspective and you make things small and simple, life's not that hard. I mean, you're still going to die, but you can appreciate it. You don't have to love it. You just have to appreciate it.
That's such a perfect segue to this first question that I had for you, which is what's the most beautiful thing you've learned doing this work?
That there are still good people out there. I think there are so many good people in this world that need to come back and be more vocal. And I miss conversation. I hate talking over somebody. I hate arguing. I hate fighting. And I just love, when we first started going to D.C., there were blue dog Democrats and log cabin Republicans. And while they disagreed with each other, we've been in a room and I witnessed the back and forth in the tennis match. They were so cordial and disagreeing with each other and civil. I miss normalcy. I miss good people.
My next one, what is giving you the most energy right now?
You.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I mean, whatever's in front of me,
Hmm.
whatever's in front of me gives me energy. I have a responsibility. So if I'm speaking, at a middle school or high school or a college or doing an interview on a podcast or doing an interview with CNN, that's my energy for the moment. I'm never going to just call it in. I'm never just going to phone it in. I'm always going to give you 100%. I mean, you already made me cry. My eyes are bloodshot. I can see it. Nobody motivates me more than me. Look, I feel like shit. I've had 46 surgeries, arthritis, just had double hip replacement. But I'm going to go to the gym later. I'm going to work out. It's going to hurt like a motherfucker, but I'm going to work out. And I'm okay with that because I'm alive. I'm in pain. That's a good feeling. It's better than being dead. And it's advice usually meant well, given by the drunk uncle at the family barbecue that you see every 3 years, or by a friend who means well. But you only live once. No, you only die once. You only die once. You live every fucking day. Live. And I think people lose perspective of shit like that.
I have one more for you. Okay. What's something exciting you have planned for this year?
Well, we're going to introduce a bill in February with Congressman Garabino. The World Trade Center Health Program needs funding. We asked for 2.1 last year. We got 700 million attached to the NDAA, which is the Pentagon defense budget. Um, so we're gonna have to go back and ask for 1.4, but not technically. Probably right now it's like 1.8 because of inflation. I don't have as many guys as I had in 2019. I didn't need all of them in 2022 with the PACT Act. My last conversation to the group was, you guys were farmers before you were warriors. Go home, put your sword down, pick up your rake, plant something, and watch it grow with your loved ones. I'll call you to be a warrior again, to put down the rake and pick up your sword. Some of them I have, many of them I didn't, but a lot of them have passed away. Right now, as we speak, 4 of my guys have cancer. 2 of them are going to die. Some of them will go to DC with me this year. Many of them won't. But this is the rest of my life. I hate stealing movie lines, but you want me watching that wall. And that's my job. But there's going to be somebody who will approach me with a piece of legislation, and I'll decide if I want to give. I'll give you 2 years ago, the puppy mill in New York State. That bill got passed. They had problems getting it over the finish line. I got involved, and we got the puppy mill ban passed. These are things that I'm passionate about. If somebody came to me with a bill for domestic issues with a single mom with kids or something like that, I'm going to get all over it because that's how I was raised. There are things that I have to do to complete my life to ensure I did everything my mother wanted me to do. So if it's not this year, it's the following year. But besides legislate, I declined more interviews than I did. I declined more events than I used to go to. Um, if somebody wants to honor me or something, I'll give you an example. A year and a half ago, I was supposed to get humanitarian award. I got a few of those. I'm all right with it. But I said, as a humanitarian, I want to make sure somebody else gets it. And they're like, okay, as long as you come and introduce the person on stage. I said, okay. So I spoke briefly about the person, introduced him. As soon as he started speaking, when he accepted the award, I left. I left. I walked out. I didn't stay for the 3 hour event. I don't want that anymore. I don't need that. I don't crave that. I don't like, I just filmed hopefully for a last documentary. Um, um, I just want to make a difference at my pace, my speed, and I'm always going to have the right intentions. The beautiful thing about it being an independent, liberal, Republican, conservative, Democrat, the beauty about not needing anybody to do anything for me, the beauty that I owe nobody nothing, is that I can do it my way now. There's no ring kissing, there's no ass kissing, there's no please, can you do this? This is do this or I make your life fucking miserable. And again, I don't say that lightly because I don't like being like that. But man, if somebody's got a family and you're tearing it apart and you have the ability to fucking help it really fast, you're in position of power to help, you have the ability to help because you ran on that and then you don't do it, well then me and you have a problem. I got gun for hire tattooed right below this shirt line. That's tattooed there for a reason when people need help. But I also have peace, calm, and imagine on my neck. I seek peace, calm, but I also am a gunfighter. I come in peace, but I will fight the fuck out of you. It's that simple. We need to do a better job in treating each other. Our disregard for human life people want to have a civil war right now. I want to shoot you and I want to kill you they're trying to take away my guns. Nobody in the history of ever took away guns from anybody. Ever. It hasn't been done yet. After all of these mass murders, nobody's killed. Nobody's taking your guns. Oh my God, just people, normal people, common sense people want common sense gun control. If you're not fucked up, you're not getting your gun taken away.
Well, I can say from my personal perspective, and I know hundreds and thousands of other people, that I am so grateful that I know you because you have genuinely made me a better person. And thank you so much, literally, for everything you do.
Thank you for
And
having me because I'm humbled and you are pound for pound one of the smartest people I've ever met. Because this isn't our first conversation, and we've had conversations in person. We broke bread, and pound for pound, and I say that sincerely and honestly, you're one of the smartest people. I think you're going to have Bridget Gormley on your show soon, and she is, you know, she lost her father to 9/11 cancer, and you know what you're going to learn in the 9/11 community?
what?
Everybody's brutally fucking honest because they've been through so much. They're true New Yorkers. So let's just get that out of the way. They're New Yorkers, right? But There's no need to lie. It just we're brutally honest, and you either like it or you don't like it. You either respect it or you don't respect it. But you're not gonna have to go, whoa, that person. And I told Bridget a billion times that Christine, she's one smart cookie.
Well, I wouldn't want it any other way. I would want anyone to be brutally honest all the time.
You know, if you're brutally honest, you don't have to worry about the lie that you told.
I know, it's easier, really.
It's well, remember that time? Yeah, I do remember, but I don't got to repeat it because I told you the truth the first time. It's that's you know, I'm old school. I know my responsibilities. I am not an angel. You know, I got Captain America tattooed on my chest. I got his shield, and it's all dinged up and scratched and bent. But I got Captain America here. But I also have Deadpool on my thigh, and my friends now call me Captain Deadpool because I'm like a big Boy Scout that will curse. But I'm also the first guy to help somebody walk across the street or to pull over and change a flat for somebody. I got driving home from the city. I was on the southern state, and there was this probably 80-year-old man. He had a convertible Mercedes, the old ones in mid 70s, like you saw in Heart to Heart, and he had a flat tire. I pulled over, and he watched me change a flat in like 8 minutes, and whips out $100 bill. He goes, "This is for your effort." I go, "No, sir. I'll take one of those cigars in your pocket." And he gave me the cigar. I didn't need the money. We lit it right up there and leaned on his Mercedes, and we smoked for about 10 minutes.
Those are the moments.
Yeah, that's real. That's authentic. That's raw.
That's what you can take with you, right? You can't take
Yeah.
the $100 bill, you can take those
Now,
moments.
if I took the $100 bill, I would have donated it, or I would have went and bought lotto. My goal, because I play lotto all the time, on that, I would give all of it away. Every single, I wouldn't keep one penny if I won $100 million. That's it. But what I donate to would make a difference.
What would you donate to if you did?
Um, Animals and dogs, animals and children.
Yeah.
Um, there would be the world's largest animal sanctuary, and just you know, you see so many Americans starving. But I would donate to veterans, homeless, children, but animals. Every animal I ever had was adopted. You just go to a shelter and take a dog. They're the best dogs. I'm not gonna pay three, four, $5,000 for a dog that might die because people they didn't know how to breed them.
Well, I wanna live on that farm when you fund
Oh,
it.
you and me. I want to lay on my back and be licked by 1,000 fucking dogs.
Me too.
I mean, is that asking for too much?
No, that's all we need. That's it.
Yeah, all of those are things that are released from your brain when you're around a dog. I want that 24/7. You
That's
can't have a bad day. Well, if I ever win, then I'll hire you to run it.
Thank you. I can't wait because I know either way you probably will have one if you
But
win
then
a lot or not.
you'll have to make a documentary about that.
Okay, fine. I love that.
And there you go.
Well, thank you so much, John, and I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you.